Good morning. It is Sunday. It is 10:31, very close to being on time this morning, just seconds in it. And that means it is time for Sunday Club, a weekly Ruby on Rails live stream where each week we stream some Ruby on Rails code and we build an application together very, very slowly. And the application is an event registration application where we're trying to get towards having a cool group registration experience. So for team events and stuff like that. And along the way, we're bumping into loads of fun little things that we can learn little bits about. Loads of stuff in the YouTube archive for Sunday Club. If you're watching this on Twitch, just Google Sunday Club, SUNDAE Club, and you can find the YouTube archive with all the old videos and stuff like that. Follow up to get started, as usual. We have this week done the pairing session with Sam Neter. He told me how to pronounce his surname and I've immediately forgotten, but I think it's Neter, Neter. You can check out that link in YouTube and it's currently still up on Twitch, although Twitch did get the wrong name for the video, so I will rename it on Twitch. I only noticed that this morning. So much fun. Sam is really lovely. We talked about him, his journey, learning Rails, getting into what he's trying to accomplish with what the app does. It's live. You can go and check it out. So I popped a couple of links in the YouTube description for that video. Go check out his streams and his videos on Twitch as well if you get a chance. Yeah, really enjoyed that. And I spoke to him afterwards really briefly. I haven't had a chance to catch up with him since, but he did say he was up for doing a bit more of that. So hopefully we can do a little bit more. And it was really fun and I really like him. So if anyone else fancies doing some pairing live, then hit me up. My Twitter is in the description here, and I think like LinkedIn and stuff like that. So yep, that is going to be good if we can do some more of that, because it's a fun way to learn and talk and meet cool people on the internet and do fun things. So that's some follow-up. Second bit of follow-up is from last week's stream. I know there was the pairing one in the middle. Is that Streamlabs, which is the software that powers this stream, has put in the ability to get tips. And I got a tip last week, like cash, and I was very excited by this. I didn't even know this was a feature. So thank you very much for that. And if anyone else wants to send me money, I will never say no to that. So yeah, chuck me money. I didn't even know that was an option, but apparently it is. Third thing, Tuple, thank you to them for throwing us some free use of the Tuple app for the pairing session the other day. There is a tweet from Ben Orenstein, who I think runs that whole company. He put a tweet out that was like, hey, if you're doing anything good, like streaming, open source stuff or anything like that, and you want free Tuple, reach out. So I did, and they were very kind to provide us Tuple for free for the live streaming stuff. So like I said, if you want to pair on the stream, reach out and we can start a conversation about it. Last thing is I've got boxes behind me and everything. We got some stuff going on at home. Like got a new bed, so we're moving some stuff into the spare room. So apologies for all of not apologies, they're boxes. Put up with it. Like, live my life over here. All right, let's get into it. What are we doing? We are going to get into Primer. So go back and check out last week's stream if you want to take a look at what this is, what the comparisons are, like what is a view component library, and off-the-shelf one, what are the benefits, what are the drawbacks, what are the alternatives, blah, blah, blah. We covered all of that last week. So not going to deal with any of that here. It's all on YouTube if you want it. We've already got ours installed. We followed these sweet instructions. We even dealt with some fun Webpack loading issues, and we got everything up and running, which is very exciting. So what that means is when we go here, everything now looks like GitHub. So what we did is we put a little counter on the page just with the number 25. And I think we signed in with, I don't know which email address it was, one of these. Let's see if we can sign in. It's not that one. Okay, very annoying. Is it going to make me remember which one we... Okay, fine. I'm just try and remember to sign in with the app each week. If we created consistent seeds, this wouldn't be a problem, but we haven't done that yet, so it is a problem. All right, so let's do, we want to use we can just do organization membership .first .user.email. That's this one, and then we're just going to try and guess what the password is, because I only ever really use one, but I know that we tested. Changing the password. Ah, amazing, great. So we're logged in as this user. So if you look, we now have styling where once there was no styling. So this font is coming from. So if we look at this, inspect this element, we can kind of take a look at this and be like, so this font family, Apple system, blah blah blah. That's coming from base CSS. And if you can see it, it's very tiny. But if can I copy location? Right, so can we see the full path? Well, anyway, the path, I've just copied the path, so I'm going to paste it into here so it's easier to see. Nope, that's the wrong section of the path. But anyway, it's very tiny. But when you hover over this part here that says base.scss, it says, oh no, it's too far down the screen. It's now moved. Okay, it's behind my camera. That's really annoying. Anyway, it's coming from Primer. That's what I'm trying to say, is that it's coming from Primer. Oh, wow, that's cool. Look. Every time I can't keep up with all the changes they make in Inspector. So now when you hover over a font family definition in, this is Firefox. I don't know if it exists in Chrome. They show you a preview of the font. Does it show you? So if we then delete these and then show you this, is that now in Helvetica? These are all color. Undo that and see if it changes. Oh no, I haven't got to come up. I can't see if that's now in Helvetica and it was in San Francisco, whatever. Anyway, Primer's working. Who cares? That's all good. Good. Right, okay. So we want Sunday Club admin events. Is going to work? Yes. So we then had a little test at the end of the stream where we're like, right, can we add a button that looks like a button? Amazing. Problem is it looks like a GitHub button. So if we go to GitHub, this is their UI library. So why wouldn't it look like their stuff? So let's go to GitHub and we'll see, like, there's a little sign up button. Let's see if we've got, well, these are just outline buttons. Presumably we can make one of those. Button. It's a styling stuff. Outline, I would imagine. Although outline still has a background. Does it still have a background? Okay. So what we got with Primer was both a CSS library and a ViewComponent library. So we have the ability to add in Primer button component, and scheme looks to be an argument that we could pass in there. But we also have, what that's doing under the hood is then using the CSS library that's also installed. And so if you remember from the docs from last week, there was like a line that said Primer ViewComponent library, I can't remember what it said, but like assumes that Primer CSS library is available. So what we want to start to do is tweak the CSS, I think, so that we can still use the ViewComponent library, but they look more like the branding of our app. And we haven't really defined the branding of our app yet. We're just figuring that out. But hopefully we can start to just see how to tweak it. Like, does it give us any guidelines around that? Do we just change a bunch of CSS variables, like Sass variables, sorry. What could be CSS variables? Probably a bunch of Sass variables. Do we have the potential to break anything on the CSS side? Like, I'm guessing we can't change a lot of things in there if the ViewComponent library relies on a lot of those class names and things like that. So let's go take a look at the CSS of things. Contributing, breakpoint, spacing, theming, typography, and variables. Should we start with variables? Because I just mentioned that. Let's find out what's going on here. All right, so this the tables below list all the global Sass variables defined in support variables directory. Variables with a warning triangle are planned for deprecation in a future version and should be avoided. Okay, so we've got typography, layout, miscellaneous, marketing. Okay, so this is source marketing. So if you remember last week, we could pull in like utilities Oh yeah, they're down here. Look, utilities, components, marketing, tools. Maybe tools isn't counted, so maybe it's just marketing, components, and utilities. Okay, so then this is marketing variables. Okay. Was that it? Holy shit, there's not a lot in here. I was kind of expecting a bootstrap style, like mega list. Okay, so maybe this is like a minimal vibe. Okay, that's good. Cool. So what would we diddle with in here to make our changes? What do we want to change for branding? We want to change colors, and we want to change type, and maybe like border radiuses. So where have we got any? Is that all in the marketing stuff? Do we think this is all just spacing? So that's just not that it's not important, but it's not going to like define the user interface. Okay, so here's our radii. It's good. Okay, borders. Yep. Okay, so everything I think that we're talking about, that I'm talking about here, is in the marketing side of things. So we've got type, like fonts, weights. Oh, colors? Where do the colors come from? Is this different? Oh, theming. Okay, maybe I should be reading theming. Primer CSS offers multiple color themes for components and utilities. The colors change based on the active theme and color mode. When nothing is specified, Primer CSS uses the light theme. Ah, here we go. Custom color variables. Now, okay, so as usual, I have jumped to the last page of the docs and demanded to know why. Demanded to know information that I should have read in the previous pages. Configure Primer to use a certain theme by setting HTML attributes. Okay. So you set these on the root element and everything else should sort of work from there. That kind of gives you a dark mode out the box, which is pretty cool. Lots of extra work here for designers, engineers, lots of QA and checking everything works. And I know that once the components are done, you're done, but even just like making a change to a component, you've got to check everything works there. Sync to the system. If the theme should be auto sync to the OS color mode, use data color mode auto. Okay, fine. Custom color variables. Here we go. It's recommended to use the functional variables as much as possible. I don't know what that is. Functional variables. Oh, so this is the idea of like giving them names. So functional variables. Yeah, okay, but you can still change these. So you still call it accent.emphasis, but you just change the branding of these. Because these are all pretty GitHub-y. Okay, maybe. It will guarantee that the variables will work as expected with any new theme that might get added in the future. Sometimes you might still need a custom variable that changes based on the color mode. You can create a custom variable with the color variables mix in. The custom variables will be prefixed with -- color and can be used in the same way as other functional variables. Okay, so a bunch of extra stuff in variables, colors in theming. We got breakpoints, which we haven't even bumped into yet, but fine. Spacing. Okay, so this is similar to Tailwind. That's sort of like this idea of just having the scale going up. I don't know if that's the same values. This talks about using 8 as a with reasons. I can't remember what Tailwind does. Again, you're still remembering this sort of like additional API on top, which is fair enough. Spoken about that before. And-based spacing. Okay, Theming with red, breakpoints with red, typography. Okay. The typography scale is designed to work for GitHub's product UI and marketing sites. Font sizes are designed to work in combination with line height values so as to result in more sensible numbers wherever possible. Font sizes are smaller on mobile and scale up at the medium MD breakpoint, be larger on desktop. So this is one of the things that I've always found really different between using a system that you really need to be scalable across a huge team and then sort of like building a custom like marketing website or something that's just a one-off. You can be so like specific in those one-off jobs. And you're like, oh, I just need this instance to be slightly spaced differently or anything like that. Whereas when you're using a library like this, like if you're trying to have a team the size of GitHub's, you're like, no, just use these. Like, don't try and get creative with it particularly. Just use what's off the shelf. And as you have a big team of engineers, that really saves you the sort of bugs and things that crop up if loads of unique things are happening. Okay. Default muted and subtle attention stability. Okay, so we want like, that's colors. So I think this is what we can sort of try and tweak a little bit. Because this does just look like GitHub. So I think maybe we could change. Maybe we don't want to change the base typography because it's the system fonts. So that's just performant. And also makes it kind of feel a bit more native to the user. So that's actually probably a pretty good default to keep. But I guess what do we want to change? We want to change some colors. And I think we want to change some type. Maybe we create maybe the marketing headings are different to the usable headings or something like that. But maybe that's just outside of Primer we do that. Okay, let's see how we actually do this. So how do we override these? Let's try and make, we use the Sunday Club colors to start with because we don't really have colors for our ticketing app here, although we can kind of make some up. So yeah, how do we override these? Do we do it in? Sorry, I'm just looking through. Okay, so this is all just explaining what is there. So I don't want to go into the package itself. So can I start to override? No, it's not components, is it? It's, where did we pull that in? Where did we pull that in? I've already forgotten. I remember doing it last week. Here. Okay. So from a CSS index, do we put something in before that? Probably in this sort of Webpack CSS world rather than in the Sprockets one. So if we go in here and do style sheets, and then we do another folder called Primer. I'm totally just making this up. I don't know if this is right. And then do a new file called variables. I just want to see if we can override this first. And then we're just going to do, let's just change something we can visibly see really easily. So let's just make the background color green really quickly, but we're going to put this as important because we just want to see, does this CSS get called? Okay, so in here, can we then do Style sheets, primer, variables. This. I don't know what this is doing, but we don't need that. All right, so let's then refresh our server page and see if everything goes green. So what we're looking for is, have we inserted a path with CSS before primer gets called? And if we have, can we then start messing with its variables? And I'm really not sure. What did I add it to? Body. Oh, because I've just called it underscore variable. Is it because I've called it underscore so it expects it to be a... Didn't fail though. Yes, it did fail. Okay, great. Style sheets. Style sheets, primer, variables. Should that not be a partial? Try that. Yes, okay, great. So that's working. That was just a miscalled path. Okay, so here what we think we can now do, potentially, is assign some variables that this thing uses. So is this thing using these CSS variables? Does it set Sass variables? I don't even know how to normally use Sass like most of the time. Set the value. Okay. So calling var. Oh no, that's for usage of it. Okay, how do I set it? Maybe I'm thinking of them wrong. Or is it just the first time you use them, you do this, some keyword left? And then you use it with var afterwards. Okay. Because what I'm trying to think for is that if these were Sass variables, it would be like some variable equals some value. And that would then, this part would then be usable. I'm not 100% sure whether with a... Oh, am I just doing it en route like this? Okay, let's try that. And what did it say the color was? I've already lost it. Let danger emphasis. And we can make that really not dangerous at all. We can make that a lovely green, the exact opposite. Okay. So now we want to use something that's got color danger emphasis. Which we had a bunch of stuff. Oh, where did all of those like flash things go? Are they on here? No, okay. I can't remember where they were. There was like components. Is like flashes or something like that. Labels. Has this one got any dangerous stuff? Can we just put that on some text? Where's the... Sorry, this is just me hunting around. Because I've never used this before. So if you're thinking, why is this idiot just searching around in here? I don't know any of the class names or anything I'm trying to accomplish. Just want to try and find something where that CSS that I've just overridden is used to see if I can turn it from red to green. But there's a lot in here and I don't know. I don't know what I can just chuck the link on and it actually uses it. Okay, so is this using it? Color, danger, emphasis, border color. Yes. Okay, great. So it's label, danger. So let's just chuck this on something. We can check it on something on the home page. So we want to see, is this green or is this red? Am I green or red? No idea what's about to happen here. And we think potentially it might be green. But this... yeah, I don't know enough. Like, is this going to get reset? I don't know enough about this. So let's go to the home page. So the page shouldn't be green in the background anymore. We've taken that out. Okay, so it's still red. Great. So that hasn't worked. Do we see the green get overridden and then let's pick it back up as red? There we go. Here's the stuff on root. No. Oh, maybe. Color scheme light. Oh, whoa. Okay. I want to see if this gets added. Oh, okay. It's color, danger, emphasis, red. But it's only there once. Oh, yes. Here we go. Great. So then gets overridden. Okay. So if we swap this around. Oh, it'd be great to lose Webpack, because I think Webpack is causing the lag here, but I think a lot of the newer stuff that's not using Webpack might be quicker. Okay, great. So now we've got the green. So now if we were to override this one as well. And we can copy this and make it a bit darker. I'm not saying we would want to make our danger buttons green because that would be insane, but we have now got control over what's happening. Amazing. Okay, so that's how we can tweak the variables with it. So I've learned a little bit there, because I think I've only ever done that with Sass variables rather than CSS variables. So I'm guessing is defining them all on the root, like the normal thing to do. Like there just seem to be like a crap load of them on root using CSS variables. Okay, that makes total sense. So basically they're set, then they're red. Great. Complex websites have a very large amount, repeating values, blah, blah, blah. Basic usage. Declaring a custom property is done using blah, blah, blah. Yeah. Double hyphen. Sorry, I'm skimming through this because I just want to get... Oh, okay, cool. So when you're defining a CSS variable within a given selector name, so this is like an element or presumably within a class, it can only be used within those. A common best practice, this is exactly what I was looking for. A common best practice is to define custom properties on the root pseudo class so that it can be applied globally across your HTML document. However, this doesn't always have to be the case. You maybe have a good reason for limiting the scope of your custom properties. Okay, that's really cool. So that is potentially handy for a variable. That could even be handy for like overriding a library, or the library overriding, like making sure it didn't want to clash. So it could be like, okay, here's my custom variables, but I'm only placing them within anything that's got a .custom library class on it or something like that. Okay, amazing. These have existed for 1 million years, and I've been so either in SAS land or in JavaScript modules, CSS modules land. I haven't really had cause to really lean into these. This will be quite good. Okay. So right, all we've done so far is color our danger button red, which we don't really want to do. So what we want to do is go and mess with some other stuff. So let's see if we can. Components, here we go. So do you then get specific variables within components? Use the standard yet classy.btn for form actions and general page actions. Okay, so that all makes sense, but that gives you one class. Does this, because this is the components library. So if we go here and go to buttons here, do we get a list of variables? So remember what, so sorry, I'll just repeat that. What on the left is the view component documentation. On the right is the CSS. Oh no, shit, no, I've gone to the same place now. CSS components buttons. CSS. Oh, okay. Ignore me, I'm full of shit. That was components buttons. Yeah, sorry. Okay, right. So there still isn't a list of variables in here. Button variations. So where's the list of stuff? Is there a list of stuff? Mess with that styling. Like variables, buttons, theming. Or do we just go and look it up? Sorry, I'm skimming through. I'm just skimming through. I'm trying to spot like dot button or something like that. All right, let's go and take a look. Let's go and take a look at the code. That will tell us what we need to know and where. Yeah, just go to GitHub. Okay, so we want CSS. And within this, code. Source. Buttons. Do we want index or do we want button? What does index do? Just import all the others. Oh, okay, that's interesting. So it treats it like a kind of JavaScript structure. Okay. Okay, so now we can see we've got body font size. So that's using. So there's nothing. So the point here is there's nothing specific in the variables to the styling of the buttons. So in Bootstrap, for example, old school Bootstrap, you used to get like a /variables/buttons section, or like there would be a buttons section within the variables page, and it would be all of the tweaks you could make to buttons. Ah, here is what I'm looking for. Yes, color button text, color button background, color button border. Okay. Okay, this is what I'm looking for. Then primary, and you go through the same ones again. And so where are these set? Is there like just gonna search for that within this okay. Color button primary. Yeah, I really have a sense I'm not doing this right. But I think like VAR means it's trying to use it, right? So that means it's being used there, and that's the only use of it. So it must have already been set by the time it's here. Can we clone this to take a look at it? Just to have a copy around. I'm just going to scale this down just so I'm not on the mobile view. Cool. Not get the SSH thing unless you're... signed in. All right, let's see if we can get clone. Oh, come on. What did I just can't. Will it just work with the HTTPS? Yeah. Okay. Fine. This is literally just to make it easier to have a quick look around, because the GitHub UI is a bit clunky at that kind of size. So all right, and so what I want to find is that class name we had a minute ago. This one. I'm sort of just answering curiosity questions, really. So this one here is being used. Where is this set? It's set dynamically. Like, I don't know enough about this. So in here, let's find that. Okay. Color button primary text. Yeah, so I'm kind of confused as to where that gets set then. Is there a separate theme thing that gets passed in before it gets built? Like, is there... So we're able to override anything that gets set. Okay, so can we just try and override this one? Just check that works. So color button primary text, and we can just set it as like red. Like, we don't really care what it is. And we save that, and then we want our button that we added through somewhere. We added a button in here, I think. And then if we make it primary. So will this have red text now? And that was in here, I think. We have to wait an hour for Webpack to do its thing. No. Okay, great. So this is now still right, okay, so this actually hasn't that's the wording, that's actually not that's not how you do that. Okay, so it is, I need to change the name of the button component. Sorry, that's me not quite knowing this API well enough. So we want something primary in here. So scheme, I guess, or is there a different scheme? Primary, okay. So at the moment we're just passing that in. So in new, we can pass in scheme primary. So does this set that variable and pass it into the CSS underneath? Like, is it actually in the, oh, okay, now we're in it. Now we're in it. Okay, so that's worked. So does, okay, so let me go back. Then we're going to go to view components. I'm going to pull this one locally as well. So let's copy this. Take a look in here and see what's happening in the actual view components side of things. We're just poking around this morning. We're just learning a lot about how this library works. I feel like I'm coming up to speed on a lot of modern stuff. Like haven't been doing this for a while. I'm just trying to get back into it. Working with new libraries and kind of get used to what you've been doing. Remote containers. So this is doing a bunch of stuff. And all we really care about is that, like, is that Sass variable set, I guess. Let's go looking for whatever it is. This one? Was that at all used in here? No. So they don't set any Sass in here. They just use everything from the CSS library. Okay, that sort of makes sense. Are there any, like, genuinely, are there like any CSS files in here? I don't even know if that would work. That doesn't work there. Okay, that's fine. It sort of answers my question. So where is this set as green? Or whatever color. I think it's white, maybe. Primary is white. Okay. So we know that that's the one that's being used because we know we can override it. And what I'm sort of interested in, if we scroll, what's happening now? I've broken it. It's freaking out. I think Webpack's doing something. Okay, so I want to see. Okay, that's really broken. I think I clicked here and I think it's trying to build this. Oh no, it's not working. This isn't our repo, is it? So Firefox is trying to do something. Oh, here we go. It's trying to take me to here. Okay. So, okay, let's go back a second. Here, so it is set specifically, and it's set on root like everything else. So is it set dynamically? How come I can't find that in the CSS repo? Just trying to look for like... Am I being really dumb? I feel like the answer to that is a default yes, but... Okay, well, let me look for any of these other ones. Okay, so border width. Well, these are just Sass variables, okay? Is that right? So here, border width. So presumably that's set somewhere. So there'd be one with a colon afterwards. Okay, so that's set here. That makes total sense. This I'm very, like, this feels comfortable. So that's a Sass variable. It's set in a file that ends with Sass. You can then use it. Okay, fine. Where my lack of knowledge totally runs out is on this one. We are implementing a variable called -- color button primary text. Let's go and take a look at this commit, because it's got a commit called fix primary button text color, and let's see what's in there. I'm sorry, wait, what is this? There are 250 commits and the PR tile is just another test. What? I don't know what's happening there, but that's fucking wild. What do you do? Just submit the PR review. It's like, oh yeah, there's only 14,000 changes. Don't worry about it. Just click approve. I'm assuming that's sort of some sort of automated thing after like an internal system or something. I don't know. Or, yeah, I do love the idea of that landing in my inbox with like a, hey, I need this reviewed by 3 p.m. I need to get this shipped. Genuinely, it's only in there once. So, oh, okay. So this is interesting. So this has been moved from a CSS variable, from a Sass variable to a CSS variable, because that's the presumably the direction this is going. Because this is agnostic, I would guess, of Sass or anything like that. I'm guessing that's a good thing. So this takes away the need to rely on text white. It doesn't. I can't see where then this is being set. Oh shit! It isn't that there's 250 commits. Yeah, this must be just some sort of bot doing like a... It's only showing the most recent 250 commits. So yeah, this must just be like a release bot or something, just grouping a shitload of commits and merging them in somehow. Okay, so I still don't know the answer to my... Okay, so use color text white for input. Dark. Let's take a look at one commit. White. I feel... Inheritance. Oh, that's already useful. So the element invalid value, which is the default value of any custom property, is invalid value. Okay, so what I was wondering is like, oh, is the default value of this white? And the answer is no. It has to have been set somewhere. And what I'm missing is where it's set. So I know I can override it, but I can't find where it was set. I can only find where it was first used. So I don't know the default value of this without rendering it out. So I can't just search for color button primary background, or BG, and find what it's set to. But it must be set during some sort of build step. I think we just search all of GitHub just see what comes up. Search all of GitHub. Oh, we have to be signed into that. Okay. Okay. Maybe this isn't a huge deal, but it's the question that I feel like when we're modifying a CSS library, knowing what the current value of a setting is. I mean, you can see, yeah, this was just like, you can see in these PRs it being transitioned from a bunch of, that one's literally set and the other one was set with a Sass variable. Now it's using these. So like if we go to root, is there anything in here? Page layout. Okay, so we can see some of these being set here. Oh, okay, are these being set dynamically? Here we go. Maybe this is what we're on to. Here we go. Okay, now we're on to something. Maybe these are being built. Right, what the fuck is happening here? Right, okay, so is stuff happening? Are these being built here? Is this just a Sass file build? This mixin takes a map of color mode variables and splits them into dark and light mode. The goal is to reduce the amount of dark mode and select as compiled. Input example of a color map. Include color variables, custom CSS variable 1. Okay, so this is spitting stuff out. So I wonder if these are being built dynamically. Okay, so let's go and find where color variables is used. That's just docs for it. Okay, now we've got colors, color modes, and get palette by names. Import colors from color variables. What colors from color variables? So is color variables a separate package? Doc source color system. Oh, doc source color system. No, that's just for the docs though. Okay, so here are again. So these are scoped CSS variables, and we know that because we read those docs earlier. No you, because we're in American land. Where's themes? Light. Okay, so themes. Primer primitives. Okay, so do they all live in? Let's go back to our repo. You really are just watching me click around to try and see where stuff comes from. And it's purely like, again, this isn't going to inhibit our usage of it. We know we can override them from now, like we don't really care. But I really want to know in the past, no BQR. Where's primer? Wait, where's Primer? I thought it would be in there. Oh, is it at Primer? Or is it at GitHub? At GitHub, here we go. Nope. Oh, here we go, at Primer is there. Primitives, dist. These are all SAS ones though, so we don't think it's those. CSS. But this is basically just a repo we've pulled into the other thing, right? Is there anything in here called, okay, color modes, themes, light, primer primitives, dist SAS. Primer primitives, dist SAS, colors, light. Ah, okay. Does this have... Okay, we found something. So does this have the thing that we were looking for in it? I can't remember. I've lost all sense of where the hell we started. But let's keep going. Let's keep going. I think we found something. So color, button, primary text. It's set here. Right. Okay. Where are we? So we have just found all of the default values. That was a marathon. Where are we? We're in... Okay, so we are in primer, primitives, dist, SAS, colors, light. And then there are different ones for different themes. Okay. So this is not handy to get to. I don't know if it's supposed to be. What do we... And that's within our own repo. So then if I go and look inside, so this is primer primitive. So what did we download? Primer CSS. Does that have a primitives? So then this is the CSS repo source. No, so we're in source. I think this repo expects these to have been set. So is there a separate repo for this then? Go back. Primer view components, primer. Primer dot style design primitives. Okay. Right. Interesting. So this repo contains values for color spacing and typography primitives for use within Primer GitHub's design system. All right, we're learning a bunch. So this is where everything comes from. So this is where we can then go and look up. There's a bunch of deprecated stuff, or ways to deprecate stuff. Okay, fine. We don't need to worry about that. So this is a map then of what this actually is. So design tokens, theme, fonts, colors, and space are all included in primer primitives. I think I've seen this diagram, but I don't think I've realized what it meant at the time. So then Figma, which is a UI design tool. Presumably Sketch, which is something we can take a look at because I think you can use design tokens in Sketch now. So that would actually be really cool. So ooh, hello. You've got my real interest here. Sketch, macOS design tokens. Could we point a Sketch at that? Design token out for Sketch and Figma. I know they've seen a bunch of stuff for them recently where they're doing stuff with design tokens. If you could point Sketch at that repo and have a bunch of stuff in Sketch, that would really be good. Design system developer handoff. I've seen a bunch of stuff to do with color tokens. Do they have design tokens? If you've got a library with color variables, you can use it to create color tokens and keep your development projects in perfect sync. You can download color tokens in CSS or JSON formats, or generate a URL for a format that stays up to date with any changes you make. So potentially you could just point it at repo in the web app, blah, blah, blah. Right, but that's exporting tokens. What we want to do is have them available in our design application. How to integrate color tokens with development projects. You can use public color tokens in tools like Storybook. Sample project exporting assets. But this is... Does this create a public URL from Sketch? Can we go from something? So what this indicates is that we can go from here into Figma. So this repo sets the values, Figma uses them, you use the UI design, and then you can like build them in components. So if we could replace that with Sketch, because Sketch is what I have, because it's cheaper than Figma. And there's a whole stream on it. It's like one of the most viewed streams in this channel for some reason. I didn't end up using Figma for it. How to make sure you can export assets from the web app. Right, I want to use exporting color variables, integrate color tokens. Okay, yeah. Oh, you can use public color. Sample project. What's this? Okay. Using color tokens export from Sketch. Oh, these just... I think this is all Sketch outwards. I want Sketch inwards. Is that not possible? Introducing color tokens, bringing color variables to your development projects. Okay, so if we do import design tokens into Figma, design tokens. Okay, so Figma might be the one that we would need to use here. Oh no, this is the same thing, like export, this is the same thing, getting them out of the design thing. Oh man, I really feel like I'm learning a lot this stream. I don't know how useful the stream is for people, but like how's Figma's file? Ways to grab the styles. Use Figma API to generate design tokens. Design tokens is a set of styles, colors, typography. Okay, so I get what this is, and this diagram is leading me to a promised land that I would love to have, which is like changing a repo value. So presumably we're using Primer here. The idea being is that we can then pull that into the design app. I want to go, in the words of Liz Lemon, I want to go to there. But the only thing I'm seeing is like stuff coming out of Figma or Sketch or whatever into a set of design tokens. So design hand, oh, here we go. So design, make changes, save file, commit to abstract, notify, download the file, parse the Sketch file. Okay, so that's changed because they now are doing something. So make changes, notify developers, parse file via Figma API. Okay, so this really is indicating that this diagram is the wrong way or the other way around. So it comes from here and goes into here and then cascades to these three. So maybe that's what actually happens here. Use existing design tokens in Figma. Oh, it's a YouTube channel. Well, Figma tokens automatically turn into code. You can't go the other way around. Import existing styles to tokens by clicking import. Okay, maybe is the answer. Okay, that I'm happy to go and take a look at because I'm really interested in that, and I'd love it if Sketch did the same thing because I already have Sketch and I've already paid for it, so I don't really want to do more of that. But that would be awesome if I could just like have. So on the Sketch streams that we did previously, like you just end up having to define all of these text styles. You can hear my neighbor's dog going bonkers. So to have them like and automatically keep in sync with a repo just by assigning a URL would be so good. Create libraries of your symbols, text layers. I don't think any of these libraries have been like standardized in the past. All right, let's keep going then. Let's get back to where we started. So here, here, and here, it then feeds out, and we are looking within our primitives repo. Oh, which I didn't download, so it's just still in the browser on this one. So where is primer primitive? So what is in here? You get one TypeScript file, which looks like a big list of methods to do with transforming stuff, lightening it, changing the alpha value from it. Looks like it's building a giant hash, I assume, giant array. Array merge, so I assume it's a giant array of arrays. I don't know what this is building. And then in here, I'm assuming global export SAS map. I don't know what that's doing exactly. Where are all of the actual things? In data, you then have TypeScript files, a bunch of values in here, colors. Okay, so this is all in. Where's just normal light? Because this is all TypeScript stuff. If we do. Okay, so these are all. Set here in TypeScript, but the ones we were looking at previously were in. What were they in? Data. They weren't in TypeScript. Where were they? We found them and I've lost them already. Oh shit. Shit, I really have lost them. Oh, vars maybe? No, that's all still TypeScript. Themes? No, that's all still TypeScript. I thought they were all in a big. Oh no. It told me where to find them. And my variables. I keep clicking between the same things. Stop doing that. Dist SAS. Okay, so it's dist. Okay, fine. Sorry. Oh wait, so it gets built. Okay, right. Okay, so right, that's actually the built version. Okay, great. So presumably that gets built based on what's in data colors. Can't remember then which one. Themes light. Right, so in here, a bunch of colors. Okay. And then Like component vars, like deprecated vars. Okay, so let's do like component vars. Where's that? Vars component light. So go up, up, vars. And it's like, holy shit, everything is a million miles away these days. So somewhere in here, I assume, is button primary. Okay. Like text, I think it was, or something like that. Yeah, get scaled up white. Ooh, holy shit. So the answer to where does this value come from is not a straightforward answer. So back in my sort of like basic mind, something like Bootstrap was that there was a SAS file in the same structure that contained the variables for what you were doing. So you had you were working on buttons, and there was probably a SAS file somewhere that was either called variables and had a section called buttons, or it was called button variables, or some nonsense like that. And that assigned the SAS variables that you could then use later on in the same project. That is not what's happening here, because this project exists on a whole other scale. So what's happening here? My understanding from just clicking around randomly for the last hour is there is a separate repo called primitives, which contains a bunch of TypeScript files that build a huge data set, which powers all of the other repos that need to use it, one of which being the CSS library. And it defines them as a big object, basically, a big JavaScript object, and it uses a list of methods that exist within the primitives repo. So like get goes and gets it from the big thing that's been built. So scale gray 9, I assume, references a value from, I don't know where the scale stuff is set, but somewhere else I would guess. Scale.white, so source. Can't remember where get got its stuff from. So something get. Source. Utils. Where does get go and get it from? So it's just using Lodash's get, so it's just getting a value from. Does get work on a hash or like an object, or? And so what is the object that's? What is the object that's being referenced here? Really dumb that I don't know. Oh, is it on this same one? Is it on this? So get scale blue 4. Is there a thing in here called scale? Or is it there's just a giant one that's built? No, there isn't one called scale in here. Sorry, I'm still just clicking through. I'm genuinely like, there's so much going on here, but it all does sort of make sense. There's just loads of work going on. Okay, so here's scale, right? Okay, and that's in colors, theme, lights. So that's scale, and then when you're calling, and that gets merged with all of the other stuff, and that then gets exported out as light.ts, and then that's in the layer ups. Okay, so you just there's a bunch of stuff that's defined here. As the colors for the individual themes, the themes are all merged together here into one. Please avoid adding extras to the space theme. Otherwise, the exceptions will also propagate fully extended themes. Okay, fine. So you then reference those colors in your individual note, that because this is within data colors, whereas I think we want to be in data colors. Variables component light. So in here we can then reference scale. So scale.white is now from that other file. Because all this file is doing is just setting a giant object. And these all just get mushed together, and they're all able to go and get the references to the other one. You can also then, there was also other methods that would just like diddle with the values you passed in. So this is get white, but make it translucent, I would guess. That's alpha. There's a few other things. Okay, so all of that is happening in here and builds out what you need. Okay. So then if you want to use this and override them, you have the raw ingredients within the primitives. We can then set a CSS variable here to override them. And we could also do the same thing where we set a bunch of primitives here and decide whether or not to use them. So, or maybe not primitives, but like a bunch of base colors and stuff. So you could sort of do this, like brand primary, and then that could be like blue. And then I'm assuming you can do this. I have no idea. Like that, and then is our button now blue? Back over here. So it was a simple question that got asked, and it had a way more complicated answer than I realized. But I really feel like I have a much better understanding of what is going on under the hood there. Okay, so yeah, so that's now blue. Okay, so we can now build up layers of CSS overrides, and we just need to know. We just need to know what the risks of that are, I guess. Like, because all we really care about is the output. So that's all being. That's just what we're defining there is the build mechanism that Primer spits out. But that's Primer's problem. Like, all we care is like, will there be a variable called this that is a color that comes out the other end? And the answer is yes. How that gets built is sort of relevant to us. What I wanted to know is how I would know the original value that I was trying to override. Now I know I can go that and look that up in the primitives directory repo, and also that I could have just gone and looked at the output, rendered output, and it also gave me the same information because in the root pseudo node, it told me all of the lists of variables that had already been set. So I already had the information. I was just wondering where it came from. So I can look in one of multiple places to get the original value. I can then override that value, and I could also override that value with a bunch of values local to my app that I have set and renamed and things like that, like brand colors or whatever. Like this is a Bootstrap thing. I can't remember, like having a brand thing. So that is amazing. Okay, we haven't actually done any personalization. I've learned a shitload about how it works. So let's how long have we got? What time is it? It's I want to kind of wrap up shortly, but let's spend a little while. So I am actively going to go away and search and look into see whether we can get the output of that primitives repo into Sketch, because I'm super interested in that. And I don't know how to find out more about that, but I want to know about it. Tokens, color tokens, no color variables. Oh, it's a video. Oh no. Color variables, create colors that sync. Okay, that's all good. Edit variable, detach variable. Okay. Okay, and they appear down the bottom there. Okay, great. Okay. Gonna look into that. Okay, cool. So that's all good. We can close some of this stuff out. And that's all good. Okay, so let's go and take a look at some of these components and get some of them working. Maybe we can do some of the marketing ones to build out our homepage. Where's button marketing? Here we go. Now we know we're going to make some money. You've got button marketing. Oh, that's interesting. These are prefixed. They're actually namespaced. If they're not stable, they're namespaced with the like lifecycle thing that we looked at last stream, which is like, this is in alpha. You need to know that because the API might change. So actually putting a namespace on there is really explicit. So you'd have to go through and do, once it became stable and you updated your version of Primer, you could go through and remove that. I'm assuming that by doing this, they can also give you a deprecation, or not even a deprecation warning, but like a warning that it's going to become stable. Because I don't know if they would do that, but you could do it the way you do that. You deprecate it, so you could keep the alpha version and then put in the stable version, and put a warning on the alpha version that's like, hey, next version, this is going to go away. I don't know if they do that. All right, so CSS had a bunch of marketing stuff, but we don't think that the component seems to do the same thing. So the idea, I assume, is that we build our own marketing components, or just use normal HTML with the marketing CSS. Buttons, filter. Ooh, what's this bad boy doing? Oh, there's a filters for colors, layout. Position elements for spacing. Okay, so marketing gets a snazzy interaction on some links. And they get different sized headings. Okay, let's so what was the thing? Can we add this to HTML and just see if this does stuff? Just out of curiosity while I'm here. Ooh, dark mode. It looks like GitHub. Okay, that's cool. So that's an example where here we had put background color white on our navbar just while we were making it quickly, and you can see the mess that now creates. But we should have something in the primitives that we've just been rooting around for to give us a background color. So we should be able to inspect one of these and be like, right, what should this be? And we would get given foreground. Presumably there is some sort of color page header background. Seems like a good candidate. All of those fun stuff. So we then know. And to address the risk that we were talking about previously of the library diverging from what you want to do with it, sort of doesn't matter. So once you're using that library and they're rendering a list of a list of CSS variables. This happened on like a couple of the Bootstrap projects that I use. Like the design or engineers or whoever want to go off in their own direction. It doesn't matter because you just stop upgrading with the library. And so all you then need to do is be like, right, we're either going to introduce new variables or override these old ones. And all you know is that like that API is now consistent. You have these variables and you just need to support them or remove them altogether, but you're in control of that. So I don't think it's a huge risk. I think it would be big if you, well, I don't know, maybe it is a huge risk, but it's like a knowable risk. Like you could be like, okay, well, if GitHub really go off in another direction with this that we're not happy with, like all the components start, I don't know, needing to be, I don't know, colors wouldn't really work because you could just override them, but like maybe they stop taking accessibility into account or something like that. You're like, oh, actually, this isn't great. Or they just stop doing it altogether. Like they're like, actually, we're moving on to a new type of widget. You can just carry it forward. And I think it would be dependent on your scale as to like, A, how much you've customized it up front, B, how you've done that customization. Are you just overriding CSS variables, or are you really getting into the weeds of like fundamentally rewriting things? And then if you deviate from that library, how long would it take you to sort of like either move to another solution or fully take it over and support it? How big is your engineering team, and all of those fun things that tech leadership and technical architects and all those fun people get to talk about at length. Because if you're like a solo engineer, you're probably just like, it works, we've got stuff to ship, get out the door, change the font, change the color, bish bash bosh. It's the technical term for that. All right, cool. So yeah, we made that dark, but that was just a little experiment. And so let's go and see if we can play with some of this stuff on the marketing side. And right, where am I? Page. So how much does this get us? What Tailwind was trying to give us, like copy and paste headers for things. Any pre-existing layouts? No, these are all really just CSS over. Is it kind of like classes over existing CSS API, right? Okay, so well, let's try this. What do we want? We want like a big thing under the header. But we don't know what it is yet. And then we want a big thing like this. And it says, what are we building? We're building an application to do with group and team event bookings. So you want some really like abstract nonsense value-based marketing sentence, something like we want to center that. So how do we do centered text? Genuinely just feel like it's like day one sometimes of this year. So type, is that something I should be using this for? Yes, text center. Okay, so this is a bit bootstrappy. And marketing typography. Okay, yeah. So then we can go down. Do they have sub things? No. Okay. Let's say this is like this one. And we want some sort of thing to say center this. So do they give us this flexbox thing? And do they then give us... Okay, so this feels very tailwindy, so it's prefixed. And then do they give us some sort of... Oh, which one is it? Like oh god, I can never remember these. Align items, is it that one, or is that line itself? So align items center, but that... Okay, maybe this one? Then we want to put some margin on it. Okay, so we're learning their API for this. And we can just do M6 because everything's big. And again, we go back to where we started with Tailwind many streams ago, which is like having these in a consistent order would be super useful. And they had things on Tailwind. They had like a VS Code plugin, but it didn't work with ERB files at the time, I think. This can all go because this is all just... Oh, no, I'll just leave it there as a... And you remember, well, I don't want to have it blue. Actually, it can all go. It's all just stupid because it's making everything a weird color. Okay, so has that made something on the homepage? Oh, we're not on the homepage. It'd be good to do a stream to see if we could get rid of Webpack but keep our keep all our stuff working. Okay, cool. So that's not centered. Okay, we can get rid of both of these. That's fun though. These are massive, which I love. Why no text center? I'm pretty sure I read typography. Oh, is it because it's in a Flex container, so it's not, that's not the right one. They're aligned individually, text center, but they are actually, gosh, can't hold this in my head. Something Flex justified center. Any use? No. Oh, this isn't inheriting from any of those. But it's getting... But these are working. So the utilities aren't coming through. Because it's a typo in class. I'm an idiot. Maybe text center was working. Okay. So Flex needs to be... I was just trying to align them centrally. Do I want this to be a Flex container? Yeah, I don't really think there's a major problem with that. I always come back and adjust it, but I do then need to remember what the thing to make them columns is. Oh my god, I would spend my entire life scrolling up and down this, I think. Flex column. Yeah, okay. I do still want text center. Okay, so I then take this out and put text center. Well, now this is just a CSS stream. Okay, cool. So this doesn't really adjust much for narrower viewports. We pop this out and take a look at the output that's happening here. Does H0-marketing get impacted by any media queries? Holy crap. Yeah, this this is one of the things about not using one of these libraries, is that at least you understand everything that's in your own code. Like your CSS file, depending on the size you have, may be slightly smaller or larger, but you're generally just looking at, hey, here's a readable piece of code for how this CSS class was generated. Like this one's like, oh yeah, I'll just click on how we generate that class. Oh great, well it's just a conditional that then like for each header in sizes in marketing headers. So I'm guessing that's like 0 to 6. So if the size is 1 does not equal like the nth one, like every other, I don't even know what that's doing. So like based on the conditional, there may or may not be breakpoints. But we don't have to look at the... Like, can we possibly look at not the... That's cool. Oh, highlight. I thought it said hide. Can we look at the actual rendered CSS rather than the... rather than the kind of source map for that? Don't know. Anyway. So now, presumably, we can still do our cool thing where we change the head value here, and we put in... I need to get my clipboard history set up on this user. All right, we're wrapping. It's an hour and 40. We're coming close to needing to wrap up the stream anyway. But I genuinely learned a whole bunch here today. Don't know if anyone else will ever find this useful, but I found it super useful. Theming. Now, presumably, I think if we join your team would be a cooler. Find your team, something like that. Oh, so this now doesn't... Is that just building? Because it hasn't taken the new thing to be dark. Head data color mode dark. Data dark theme dark. Was it on HTML and not on... Not on head. Silly. Ooh, look how cool. Okay, and so you could then change the marketing font to be not GitHub's font, although you're going to be more performant because that is the system font, I think, still, even for the marketing ones. Yeah. So everything ends up looking the same, but you then haven't got to drag a font over the wire and do all of the fun stuff there. And it kind of looks more native. So you could at least change the colors here, I guess. So then you could have, where's more marketing? Let's get our marketing buttons up running. These are GitHub ones would look a little... Oh yeah, I mean, like, get started and learn more. These are buttons, but they're links, I guess, on here. So in here, we then have this thing, which would be another Flexbox doodad, but this one would potentially be... So this doesn't seem to have anything. What Tailwind does is give you those prefixes for responsive layout. So you sort of end up with SM. So here, what I would imagine you have is the buttons on top of each other at a mobile viewport, and then next to each other on a wider viewport. So here, I think you'd sort of end up with like The default being something flex. I don't know the API, but like flex call or whatever you'd mention me, and then it would be like md flex row, something like that. And I haven't seen anything in here that indicates that's sort of an option here. You have to sort of do that yourself. There are does everything come with a prefix? Use media query mixin when you want to change CSS properties. Media query mixin works by passing in a breakpoint value such as breakpoint. Okay, maybe we can do this. Media queries are scoped from each breakpoint and upwards. Okay, so we'd still need to define a CSS file for this marketing component. There's nothing built in for that. Okay, well, that doesn't really matter. These be A tags other than buttons. And so by default, they should be next to each other, I guess. See what happens here. Boom. These are button marketing. Why are they not appearing as... Because they don't have href values. I was wondering why the cursor wasn't changing. Yeah, okay, just because they didn't have href values. Very exciting. Okay, then you click through, sign up to a bunch of stuff. And everything looks like a dog's dinner from there. But this bit looks cool. Okay, amazing. Right, I'm going to wrap it up. What have we covered? We have covered loads. Mainly, we spent most of our time discovering how Primer works, like how it builds up this CSS from a set of primitives and then builds the view components and the CSS for those view components, where those values are, how it all fits together, and then how we can override them in our app using CSS variables, and a few bits and bobs that doesn't do. So I feel like we learned loads about Primer, and it's all good, I think. Makes a lot of sense. And then at the end made something look pretty cool. Had lovely buttons and a dark background, which is what people like. That is it for this week. Have a wonderful week. We'll see everybody next week. I don't know if we're going to do more pairing streams or anything like that. Nothing planned yet, but I will try and tweet about it if I get it working. So have an amazing week, and I will see you next Sunday, 10:30 a.m. UK time for more Ruby on Rails streaming. Thanks a lot.